السلام عليكم ورحمة الله. الصلاة والسلام على أشرف الأنبياء والمرسلين سيدنا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه أجمعين. يتجدد لقاءنا بكم، واليوم اللقاء الأكاديمي الثاني والذي تنظمه مبادرة مساند وشركة أجنحة الخليج للخدمات التعليمية ضمن سلسلة خطوات ومهارات البحث العلمي. فحياكم الله جميعاً. مبادرة مساند تهدف لدعم ومساندة المبتعثين والمغتربين داخل وخارج بريطانيا عن طريق تقديم لقاءات ودورات واستشارات نفسية واجتماعية وأكاديمية. نرحب باستفساراتكم وأسئلتكم عن طريق حساباتنا على تويتر وانستغرام مساند يوكي، وإيميل مساند.uk@gmail.com. لقاء اليوم مدته ساعة ونصف تقريبا، تقدمه ضيفتنا القديرة دكتورة إيناس فيلمبان، أستاذ مساعد جامعة أم القرى، مدرس في معهد إنتو جامعة نيوكاسل المملكة المتحدة، مؤسس شريك في شركة أجنحة الخليج للخدمات التعليمية. حياك الله دكتورة إيناس، وتفضلي.
السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته.
وعليكم السلام ورحمة الله، حياك الله.
الحمد لله والصلاة والسلام على أشرف الأنبياء والمرسلين نبينا محمد وعليه أفضل الصلاة وأتم التسليم. اللهم علمني ما ينفعني وانفعني بما علمتني وزدني علما. جزاك الله خير على التقديم أستاذة أحلام. And welcome everyone to the second session of the series of the process of conducting research. Today is the second session for this series, which focuses on identifying the research topic, the research purposes, and problems. So, bi'idhnillah, we're going to continue the topic of research question. Before I start, Lily, who doesn't know me yet, زي ما تفضلت دكتورة أستاذة أحلام جزاها الله خير. I am right now an assistant professor at Umm Al-Qura University. I teach English language and linguistics in the university. And I'm also a research assistant at Newcastle University. So I'm in the process of still doing some research with my supervisor. I'm also an AP teacher at INTO Newcastle University. And I'm also a co-founder of Gulf Wings Limited. Here you have the website, and whoever wants to go in the website and have a look. Okay, so today is, as I said before, is the second session of the series of the whole thing of research and how to conduct research and so on. So at the moment, some of you may have already started the research process. بعضكم ممكن لسه حيبدأ في مرحلة الماجستير، دكتوراه, any part. So this is kind of like an introduction. Maybe all of you already know all of this information, but I do really hope that you at some point you come out of this session with some useful information to help you in the process of your research. بسم الله نبدأ. Okay, so last week or last session, we talked about research, and we talked about all of the things that entails, what entails research and all the things that are related to what research is about. Today, we're going to talk about even more specific aspect, which is the research question itself, okay? So what is the research question, and what is it that we want to know about? The research question is the development of the research question needs to include a supportive hypothesis and objectives. And we said last session what a hypothesis was. We're going to talk about this in the end of the session today and to see what the difference are and so on. So every research question includes a supportive hypothesis and objectives, and which is a very important step in producing relevant results to be used when in evidence-based practice, and then for later on for other people to pursue research altogether. Now, a research question should be well defined. This research question should also be very specific, and it should, or more likely to help you, guide you to make the decision about study design and population, and then subsequently shows us what data will be collected and analyzed. So the process of the research question and choosing the specific question هذا اللي حيخليكم يعني تحددوا بالضبط how you're going to do the research itself. Okay? Okay, so in the poll, I have what is the relationship between the research question, research process, and the research topic. Now, أبغاكم تكتبوا لي or إذا تفضلتي يا أستاذة أحلام تضع البول. Now, عندنا نحن 3 aspects: السؤال والresearch process and the research topic. نحن نبغى نعرف which one comes first. Which one is the one that comes in the beginning? أستاذة أحلام.
أيوة، طلع السؤال لديكم؟
Yes.
Okay.
Now, if you have a research question and if you have a research process and you have a question, which one do you think comes first? Okay, great. Okay, thank you very much. Okay, very good. We're in this session, hopefully you're going to see the relationship between these 3. حنشوف إيش العلاقة بين ال research process, ال research question, and the research topic. ممكن تنهي البول أستاذة أحلام so we can see? Okay, thank you very much. And share the results. Okay, so نص في المية تقريبا, like halfway there, 44% قالوا research question comes first, and then you have the research topic. دقيقة بس أنا عندي أعلق الجهاز. Okay, so this is kind of like an idea. Research is a process. هذا الكلام اللي اتكلمنا عنه الأسبوع اللي فات. في مشكلة في أستاذ أحلام؟
لا تمام خلاص.
Okay. بس عشان البول جاهز عندي.
نقفل السؤال هذا خلاص؟
Yes.
Okay.
Okay. Okay, so this is something that we already talked about in the last session. Research is a process of steps used to collect and analyze information. فهي مجرد هذه it's a process, مجرد خطوات. How do we take this or how do we go on to this process is by increasing our understanding of the topic or issue. Okay, so if you have a topic, that means you can pursue with the research process. يعني عندنا بشكل عام the topic or the area or that you want to study. However, the familiarity of the topic and the familiarity of the subject كون إنك قد إيش أنتم ملمين بالموضوع through, for example, reading. This is what will help define the appropriate research question for a study. So شايفين إنه you come up with a topic, of area of interest. وكثير منكم for example جايين من مبتعثين من خلاص عارفين انتوا في أي قسم. For example, let's say if I'm coming from the English department, I know that I want to go and do something in English. So when I talk about, like, for example, I want to do literature or linguistics, no, I want to do linguistics. So from there, I start to think about and read more about it. Once I know that, I start to think about the research question for my study. So in general, the topic is the main organizing principle that guides us to analyze our research paper. So this is the main thing, which is the topic. Okay, so for example, if you're writing, if you don't have a topic, that means you can't write. So topics give you this occasion of writing, and it gives you the purpose. And it also focuses and governs what you want to say. So for example, if you are, for example, talking with somebody or writing a topic, or you have an essay that you want to write, if you have a topic, that means this will keep you focused on that range, and you wouldn't go off topic. That's why sometimes people say, please don't go off topic, for this reason. And it also represents the core subject matter of scholarly communication. This is the topic is the core subject of what you are studying and what you are intending to come when you come to pursue your research. Okay, so how do we choose a topic? Now, this is the most important part in today's session and so on, is choosing the topic when you come to study. Usually, when you come, for example, to study, let's say, master's degree, and I have my brother here is also is starting to study his master's. So he wants to choose a topic. What would he do? The first thing that we do, for example, at INTO Newcastle University, when students come and want to pursue their study, يقولوا لهم, okay, come and we're going to give you a task. Go into the school, نفس موقع الجامعة, القسم نفسه, and go and look at the modules. So, for example, my brother is studying, he already has a degree in bachelor's in computer science. So what he has to do, he has to go into the subject area, to the school itself, and start to search for a topic that he's interested in. How do we do that? We can look at the modules, we can look at all sorts of things. أحيانا لما تبدأوا مثلا الدكتوراه يعطوكم مواد، هذه المواد أنتوا تختاروا منها بحيث أنتوا اللي تشوفوا إيش الشيء اللي that you're, you want the area that you want to specifically research about. So, for example, in computer science, there are many subjects that you can choose from. There's functional programming, there's system software, computational complexity, machine learning. طبعا هذه كلها حتى أنا نفسي ماني فاهمتها because they are something specific to computer science. But I'm just giving you an example about specific things that you can find in the modules that you can choose from عشان تختاروا الموضوع اللي that you want to research about. So my brother نشيل هذا كله, and he's looking at cybersecurity. Okay, so what exactly in cybersecurity that he wants to do? هنا لازم تحدد بالضبط from the cybersecurity, for example, this area of study or this topic. كمان لازم تختاروا something that is most interesting for you. Why? Because if you are doing, for example, research in your master's, you're going to take a very long time, or your PhD. Your PhD, you're staying there for a few years. So if you're not interested in the topic that you have chosen, Allah يعينكم. So this is why the reason that you have to choose something that you're interested in, that you want to do, and that you will enjoy doing throughout the research process. So خلي مثلا أختار malware and intrusion detections. هذه الفكرة, for example, is interesting, and he wants to also see how to avoid it. Okay, now this is just an idea. Let's choose another topic that we can analyze. The other topic that I want to choose is, let's say, education. Most people go out to study education, whether it's education let's say ممكن يكون مناهج، طرق تدريس، ممكن all sorts of stuff، ممكن يكون technology، كيف ممكن إحنا نحسن عملية التعليم، let's say academic performance، human behavior، كل هذه لها علاقة بالeducation. There's also educational networks. فهذه الأشياء كلها لها علاقة بالeducation and I'm also interested in, but I want to look at something that أنا شايفته جدا you know مهم بالنسبة لي، وبعدين you know students right now and everybody is talking about social media. فأنا أبغى أعمل research على هذا الشيء. So I take that and I start to look. What is the thing that I find interesting? So, okay, so how do I find the interesting elements? مين يقول لي how do I find the social media? You know, the things that are interesting in it. اكتبوا لي كده في الشات how can I find the interesting elements. أنا صح قلت لكم قبل كده إنه you can go into the school website القسم تختاروا المواضيع، بس إيش هو الأساس that will make or allow me to come up with more interesting elements. إيش في رأيكم؟ ممتاز. Thank you very much. So you have search for journals, articles. Sometimes when you just go into the websites, Google Scholar, excellent. So there are things that you find the content itself, the website of other universities. طيب يعني what is all this? To be honest, what is what you are telling me here? It's all through excellent مراجعات الأدبية, research. Simply one word, it's reading. The preliminary reading that you do, whether it's articles or websites or anything, all of this will make me come up with. So while I was reading, I thought, you know, أنا أبغى أكتب عن social media, and ولقيت إنه that it has a negative impact on high school students' academic performance. So this is something that I found interesting and I want to research more. Like if I have this topic, how can I make it into a research question? How do you move from a topic to a question? Now this stage is very crucial. Why? Because the research or changing the idea that you are interested in into a question, this is what starts the whole process of thought, the whole process of what you want to do further in your research. So you're going to look at the topic that you have chosen, and you have to think about it, how you can enable it after that. This topic should emerge at the end with presentable findings. فمعناته هذا السؤال اللي انتوا اخترتوه لازم يكون في مجال بحثي، انه لازم يكون في مجال انه في الاخير نحن نلاقي some findings. Okay, so how do we do this? The first stage to do this is to change the topic into the question itself. How do we do this? How do we move from the first idea of a question that we chose into a feasible research question? What does feasible mean? Maybe you've heard it while you were doing research. So what is feasible question? Feasible means is something that allows you, that is manageable, excellent, thank you very much, that it's doable. بالإمكان إنه نحن we analyze it and we do research with it. So a poor question gives you poor results, okay? So let's start by seeing how can we generate a research question. زي ما قلنا في البداية or قبل كده إنه it's through reading, in-depth knowledge about a subject. Once you know a lot about this subject, هتبدأوا إيش؟ تسألوا نفسكم أسئلة. You're going to come up with a number of questions. How do we do this? How do we do that? طيب, that means you're going to ask what? More questions. والطريقة عشان تعرفوا or to succeed, to make a good or, you know, the right proposed research question is to put this question under rigorous process of integration. What do I mean by rigorous process of integration? يعني كأني قاعدة أحقق معاه، أخذ السؤال وأحقق في السؤال نفسه. Exactly. So we're going to come up and we are going to mention critical reviewing of all materials. You're going to look at it from every perspective. You're going to look at the question and you're going to analyze it. Okay, what if you have this question? You have to ask yourself, so what? وهذا السؤال قد اتسأل. I mean, أكيد في بعض الناس اللي طلاب PhD راحوا عند ال supervisors وقالوا لهم إنه والله أنا I want to research this thing. The first question that would say, so what? طيب, and then, why do you want to do that? شفت السؤال هذا, why do you want to do that? So what? This is the thing that starts the research process. Do you think this is a good question or not? Okay, so هذا, if you want to say the word so what in a more sophisticated way, this is what we call the rationale. إيش يعني الراشونال؟ إيش اللي خلاك تختار السؤال ده؟ إيش اللي خلاك تختار الطريقة دي؟ Why were you interested with this topic itself? This is the thing that answers the so what question. How can, okay, I have a question here. How can we do the questionnaire? Is that similar with the research question? So what do you mean about that? Can you elaborate here, please? Okay, so let's go to the research of answering question, or the research. Research is answering question. وهذا شوية كده, still, we're going to talk about answering questions. What you're doing in research is answering questions. And to answer a question, you need to have an answerable question. زي ما قلت أول, إذا كان question poor, that means the results will be poor. So you have to have a question that you can actually answer and worth asking. Okay, how do you find the rationale? We're going to talk about here, and if you have any other questions, we might come up. And rationale is always something that you want to do. Okay, so الشيء اللي انتوا تبغوه للبحث كامل. إيش اللي تبغى تطلعوا منه من هذا البحث? This is what the rationale means. Okay, we're going to talk about that later on. طيب, أستاذة أحلام, لو تقدري تحطي لي البول, which of these questions do you think is best and why? أنا هحط لكم a number of questions وأبغاكم تقولوا لي أي سؤال بالنسبة لكم ممكن يكون a question that you can research. Okay? Yes. No, not this one, the second question. Yeah. No, I think relaunch poll 1. Sorry. Okay, now look at the questions here. طبعا لا تطالعوا السؤال نفسه, because this kind of might raise a few arguments. عندنا سؤال, for example, why are women better than men? انتوا هل تعتقدوا انه هذا السؤال good? Of course it's not good. This is a question that, exactly, nobody can answer that question because it's a very poor question. Women are never better than men, or men are never better than women, so it's neither or. Are women better managers? Do you think this is a good question? Exactly, very wide. Are women better managers? We don't know. What do you mean? From which perspective? And so on. So there are lots of things. Okay, here you are. Although I put the answers already. So try to think, which one do you think is the best? Which question do you think is the best here? Okay, great. طبعا ال questions اللي موجودة في الpoll, it's a lot different from the one that I have on the slide. So try to choose which one of these 5 questions you think are the best. Okay, some of you say that question 3, question 5. Okay, great. Okay, خلاص قلنا احنا تكلمنا على الأول وقلنا why are women better than men is a very poor question. بعدين نتطرق على الثاني are women better managers. Okay, صح إنه هذا a little bit more specified, but still, what do you mean? السؤال اللي يجي في بالك, what do you mean by women better managers? So that's good. So we have the results here. Can you see the results, everyone? Okay, great. Perfect. Okay, so the results show that question number 4 في الpoll, not في الslide, is the most one. And you're correct. Why? Because it's not a broad topic. It's specific, specific, specific. You want to see how gender in general, gender stereotypes play a role. How can it be effective? How can it affects our perception of what constitutes an effective management, and so on. Okay. Okay, great. Very good. So the last one is precise and measurable. How is it measurable? Measurable, we're going to talk about that in the coming slides. Okay, so, عندنا سؤال. How can I narrow down the research topic? فاكرين السؤال اللي اتكلمنا عنه اللي هو social media negatively impacts high school students' academic performance. طبعا أنا هذا قلت إنه السؤال ده is interesting وأبغى أشوف كيف تويتر وفيسبوك وسناب شات and everything, how can it impact high school students? So what do I do in that? Academic performance. What kind of academic performance? Again, it's too broad. طيب, okay. So في كثير قالوا okay, while I started reading more, I thought ليش ما أتكلم عن attention span. attention span معناته إنه خلاص الأطفال خلاص ما عندهم قدرة إنهم يتحملوا you know they're not patient خلاص, they want everything to be very fast and so on. So that's something a little bit more specific, but still I feel that it's still wide, still broad. Okay, so we all know that the effect of the adolescence, we have lots of research that has been done, and we already know in the literature that the adolescents are the most active age groups that use social media. However, scarce amount of research, and what do I mean by scarce? Very little research. How do I know that there is little research? How do I know that there's scarce amount of research of younger generation's attention span? طبعا أنا مع reading, and while I started reading a lot, I noticed that there is a very small amount. So this is something that I can look at. Because this is a very scarce amount of research, here I identified a research problem. كيف؟ لما قرأت وعرفت إنه يعني مو كثير اللي بيتكلم عن هذا الموضوع. Okay, then that means this is a very good research problem. So what do I do? How can I focus, or how can I do this research question title? How can I narrow it down? في أشياء كثير that can help you to narrow down your topic. The first one is aspect. أحيانا لما يكون عندكم موضوع حيقول لك الدكتور ما يقول لك بالضبط إيش هو الشيء اللي يقول لك لا go look at something else, and then you go and you start reading, and then you go again. This is so time consuming, and sometimes you feel frustrated. طب ليه ما خلاص يقول لي؟ أنا حأعطيكم أشياء some things that you can or ideas that can help you narrow down the topic. The first one is aspect. The second one is place. وحنتطرق لها دحين in a bit. The other one is group, industry, time, theory, and relationship. أي من هذه الأشياء تحطها في السؤال أو تحطوها في السؤال, these things can make and narrow down your title, your question, your topic, your working title. And why did I say the word working title? في سبب أنا قلت, why I wrote the word working title. Because no matter what you choose for the title in the beginning of your research, تقريبا 99% are, ما شاء الله تبارك الله, the people who start the research title end up with the same research title. So we call them working title because they are constantly changing again and again and again. طيب نرجع نشوف ideas or these things of how we can focus our research question topic. In aspect, تختار or تختاروا من التايتل something specific, either political, either historical aspect, or an environmental, أي شيء له أي علاقة. Sometimes people in education look at a social aspect. So تطالعوا in an area that has not been done, okay? An aspect that has not been investigated. Or and ممكن هذه كلها تضم التايتل. Let's take a certain age group. مثلا أنا حأتكلم عن not just high school students. No, I'm going to specify students from the age between 15 and 14 only. Or gender. يمكن أبقى أخذ ال 14 هذول وكمان only or let's see the difference between, for example, male or the race or occupation. It could be all, exactly. So another thing is that which industry. طبعا أنا بتكلم هنا ممكن يكون economy ولا البزنس. في عندنا كانوا طلاب في الانتو نقول لهم اختاروا which part of business that you want to look into. فبعضهم يدخلوا في الفاشن, التكنولوجي, anything. Okay, so this is something that you can specify your working title. Another thing is البليس. طبعا نحن كثير في الريسيرش نلاحظ انه احيانا يكون في research somebody is doing research and وقال اوكي هذا الشيء او البحث هذا الارticle اتسوى في اليو I want to try it and do it in Saudi Arabia. So this is also a way of how you can focus your research title, either by using any of these things. Okay, a relationship. أحيانا ممكن البحث يكون يتطرق ل a relationship of something. ممكن زي ما قلنا الجندر ممكن يشوف ال relationship between how male and female influence management roles. فاكرين السؤال اللي فات؟ So here I'm looking at the relationship. ممكن أتطرق على a certain time, a certain era. أنا بأتطرق على literature in the 19th century. Okay? وكثير ناس مثلا سووا هذا البحث. They specified a certain time or a certain number of people. في ناس ممكن يقولوا أنا بأخذ أو I want to do research for a number of people of 5, let's say, schools in Saudi Arabia or 5 universities. انتوا كده حددتوا انكم انتوا تبغوا تسووا research on these 5 things. طيب آخر واحد theory. أحيانا a certain person wants to do research on a specific theory. وكثير انتوا طبعا تعرفوا انه في ناس بيتكلموا عن الداروينيان ولا على الفيمينيزم. إذا أنا بحثي أبغى أتطرق فقط على ال feminist theory, or I wanted to talk about let's say in education many theoretical aspects. Okay, so how do I know if I have a good research question? طب أنا أخذت الquestion وحددتها وسويتها and I put it in front of me. Now here I have a framework by Hulley et al. Okay. This is a framework to see, and it's a criteria to check if your research question is good or not. طب الفريمورك هذا اسمه FINER. FINER, why? If it's feasible, if it's interesting, if it's novel, ethical, and relevant. طالعوا في السؤال and see هل هذا السؤال is it feasible؟ إيش معنات feasible؟ هل عندكم عدد معين من ال participants أو عدد معين من ال areas of study that can be manageable and you can do it? Let's say for example هل تقدروا مثلا في ناس يقولوا اوكي انا حسوي ريسيرش حسويه في في البرمودا triangle and I want to see the people who are over there. Can you do that? Is it affordable? Is it manageable? Okay. Also, is it feasible in the manageable in scope? Can you do it in the time frame that you have during your master's or your PhD? Or does it require like a long time? So you have to be careful on whether it's feasible or not. Is it interesting? And I said before, is this topic, will it intrigue the investigator? Should it intrigue yourself, your supervisor? ولو اتكلمتوا مع أحد هل حيشوف إنه والله this topic is really interesting والله مرة فكرة حلوة. Okay, so it has to have this interesting aspect. Novel. إيش يعني novel? This area of study or this topic that you've chosen or this question that you have chosen, does it have any kind of confirming من الfindings اللي فاتت? Has anybody done this before? Or are there anybody that has been arguing it? And is there a possibility that you can extend from this to previous findings? طب معناته هذا الشيء that means I can find it in other studies, okay? مو معناته إنه that صار في بحوث ثانية معناته it's not novel. No, في ناس يعني يسوي الريسيرش وبعدين في الأخير آخر الريسيرش يقول لك okay, there are still some problems and there are still some things and findings, okay? So novel means that it's people are talking about it, okay? Ethical. Does this follow the university or the institution that you are in? وطبعا هنا ethical considerations are very very important. Are you doing it on animals? عشان كده في ناس طبعا بيتطرقوا للأتاس عشانهم بيسووا something very very critical. Sometimes people use children as is it ethical? You have to have some ethical approval from the university. Once you have this ethical approval and you are able to do this, معناته it's a good research question. Okay, the last one is it relevant? هل هو له علاقة بالresearch؟ هل في ناس you know, it's going to give some extra knowledge? Is it related to your study and so on? Okay. Okay, so which one would you want me to clarify? أي نقطة؟ Wissam Hazem, can you just clarify which part you want me to clarify more? And also, okay, is it clear? Is everything clear? Okay. All right. طيب الحين احنا قلنا في السلايد اللي قبل إنه this is a way of how we can refine and make a good question. طيب ليش or how? This is all by looking at a problem. أنتوا بتدوروا في الريسيرش وفي في الليترشر عشان تدوروا على إيش؟ In order to do research, you have to find a statement about an area of concern. تدوروا على مشكلة بحثية، نتطرق على ممكن يكون مثلا قرأت حاجة وما دخلت مزاجكم and you want to explain more, you want to research more in this, you want to investigate even further. ممكن لقيتوا مثلا a difficulty to be eliminated لأنه أحيانا تلاقوا بحوث are very difficult. How can I make it even easier? Maybe you can find a way to make things a lot better. ممكن one of the questions that they have are troubling. And this is not following the scholarly literature. صار في شوية argument, so you want to talk about it. So you look at this problem, and in theory or in practice, ممكن يكون either or, and then this point provides a meaningful understanding and allows for even more investigation. يعني هذا السؤال أو هذه النقطة أنتوا حتلاقوا okay, this is a very interesting thing. I can even, I can do it better. I can مو لازم يكون ال research حاجة مثلا out of the blue, something that nobody has done before. No, it's usually coming out from where? If you found a statement of area of concern, if you found a difficulty or anything, this is what you call gap in the literature. طبعا كتير يقولوا إيش الgap في literature, إيش الgap في literature. They don't know that this is what they're talking. It's something that I found in the literature, okay, that I found interesting. And nobody has, مو إنه nobody has done before, ممكن لقيت إنه مجرد إنه التوبيك اللي أنا قاعدة أسويه is very little, scarce. أنا تكلمت على هذا الشيء إنه it's very scarce, very not many areas or not many scholars have written about it. Okay, so this is the gap in the literature, and there's also other ways of looking for the gap. How can we find these problems? يلا أنا باكم في الشات تقولوا لي how can we find problems. نحن قلنا من قبل إنه نحن ممكن نلاقيها from reading. ممكن نلاقيها من articles. طب فين في articles can we find these problems? Can you please write in the chat where we can find these problems? Okay. Past experience is very, very broad, and let's make it more specific. I'm talking about research. Very good answers. There's Emir, Hana. That's exactly what I want. There's an abstract. Very good. Wonderful answers. Yes. Thank you. There you go. Here are the answers. You can find it in the conclusion. You can find it in implications. Excellent. And you can find it بكل سهولة. You can open any article from the part that you're interested in. تروحوا على نهاية الارticle. أحيانا ممكن تلاقوها في الابستراكت مسهلة لكم خلاص جاهزة. أحيانا in the end of every research of PhD أنا سويت بحثي وفي الأخير كتبت إنه بالرغم إنه all of these results موجودة وكل شيء، ولكن في حاجات لو إنها صارت حتخلي حتلاقي there are still further research for other people to do. Exactly. So when you analyze the conclusion, just like what Amir said in Abir al-Laham, okay, so you take these questions and you take these statements اللي موجودة في آخر البحوث وفي آخر ال articles, and then you start another research. This is where it all starts. You can start from there. A starting point can be from there. If you've already found a topic that you're interested in, أحيانا تكون جدا قريبة من اللي أنت تبغوا what you want to do. Just look in the end. Okay, and further research أقول لكم إيش هو. In the end في conclusion في something called implications for further research. يعني الباحث بعد ما يبحث ويخلص الدكتوراه يطلع أشياء أو أفكار للي بعده ممكن يجي and pursue these problems or ياخذ الأفكار هذه ويسوي منها بحث ثاني. This is what implications for further research means. Okay? Future work, yes. طيب this is another way. طبعا أنا تكلمت إنه تقدروا تلاقوها من هناك. الطريقة الثانية is reading critically. طيب أنا عندي كم I have a few handouts that I want to give you. I'll put them in the chat and then you can download them from this chat. طيب, the first one is, or the other way of finding problems is by reading critically. وهذا حنتطرق له الآن very briefly. حأعطيكم 2 ways of how you can read critically. وهذا الشيء الانتو مستخدمينه for just showing the students how they can read critically. وأبغى أتطرق على فكرة إنه what does critical reading mean؟ مو معناته إنه I read critically معناته أنا يلا هيا بدي أخذ الارتكل هذه وأطلع منها كل الأخطاء. No, that is not what reading critically is about. Critical reading is very important for critical writing. Okay? It's not to find the fault. It's not to find what is wrong with the article. It's you are assessing the strength. انتوا بتشوفوا قد ايش هذه الارticle how it's good in terms of strength of evidence. هل في evidence that supports the argument ولا لا؟ هل أقنعني ولا ما أقنعني؟ لأنه البحث هو مجرد إقناع. هل أنت مقتنع بالكلام اللي بيقوله الباحث ولا لا؟ Okay? So you're going to take the argument and see how it is concluded. It is just as useful to conclude that a study or an article presents very strong evidence and إنه يكون well reasoned يعني في له إقناع يقنعك. Sometimes أحيانا تقول لا الله طب كل البحوث والله مرة أقنعتني. طيب أنا حأوريكم دحين طرق كيف ممكن إنه أنتوا تحددوا or for you to read critically. Mariam, which part do you want me to repeat? Can you just... Okay, شوفوا حتى لو كان knowledge of the new researcher is little, still there are some certain ways that you can read critically, and here are the ways. I have 2 frameworks here that you can use. Something called radar and something called CRAP. Sorry about the second one. That's how it's called. Okay, so the first one is radar, CRAP. I'm using these 2 words for what? Rationale, authority, currency, date, relevance, accuracy, and purpose. What do I mean by all of this? وإيش له أي علاقة what I'm talking about in reading critically? دقيقة بس أنا راح أرسل لكم right now some handouts. Okay. For all of you to have, and it could be useful right now at the moment. So here are the handouts. This is the first handout. And here is another handout. You can save this in your computers. And I also have an article about critical reading and what it what it is. Okay, I'm going to share my screen on to show you what I mean about what CRAP and radar is all about. Just bear with me for a second. I am Okay, so this is the first one. Okay, when you're writing, you need to have a purpose. لأي قارئ مو لازم يكون عندكم هدف للقراءة. وهذه واحدة من الأشياء اللي ممكن تساعدكم كثير إنكم تخلوا قراءتكم نقدية. أول واحد in order to evaluate a source عشان تعرفوا إذا هذا السورس يعني ممكن أطلع منه كلام كيف ممكن أنا أحلله or أي فكرة ممكن تستفيدوا منها. أول واحد اللي هو rationale. تطالعوا هل هذا الauthor أو الباحث provided information مفيدة بالنسبة لي ولبحثي. إذا أنت ممكن تتطرق له. هذا برضو يعتبر من ضمن criticality. Okay. Some sources ممكن تكون فيها false information. Okay. ممكن يكون فيها inaccurate information. ممكن يكون evidence اللي هم استخدموها are not very suitable or partially suitable to provide good reasoning. لقيت إنه أنا عندي evidence أعلى أو أكثر. Okay. So you look at these things in terms of the rationale. إيش فكرة البحث؟ ليش هو سواها؟ Okay. هل أقنعني ولا ما أقنعني؟ The other one is the authority. أحيانا ممكن تلاقي بحث، هذا البحث أو الباحث نفسه هو is not a person who is well known. Okay. ممكن يكون مجرد انتوا اخذتوها مثلا في ويب سايت. طب هذا الويب سايت is it accurate? Is it information that I can find in a good reference in an article? Is the publisher or reputable? هل ممكن أنا إيش معنات reputable؟ يعني هل ممكن أنا أعمل فيها debate? Can I debate against it? Is there an argument against this? Okay. عشان كذا مرة مهم لما أحد يسوي research لازم they check ال person. Is this a fake person or is it legit? Okay. The other thing is the date or currency. هذا نفسه اللي في crap. The first one is currency. هل is it up to date? تطالعي when is the topic or the article, when was it published? Is the information obsolete? Like for example the information about technology in these art. لأنه أحيانا إذا أنتم بتتكلموا عن research قديم مو معناته إذا قديم هو خلاص ما هو كويس. لا، أحيانا في theories إلى الآن تستخدم من عام 1970. Okay. However, if you are talking about technology and for example something that is related to technology معناته معلش أي شيء قديم أنسوه. Because technology here is something that you need and changes rapidly. So هنا عندنا الديت جدا مهم. عشان كذا أحيانا مثلا if somebody is correcting you يقول لك لا this is not up to date. I don't want old let's say old references. Okay. Okay, so the next one is accuracy. Is the, for example, the statements that you found in this article, is it false? Is it verifiable? Are there the methods that they've used, for example, are they accurate? Are they, for example, the process of what they've done? Have they used proper methods? Have they used proper data? What are the things? هنا تدخلوا في العميق, okay? And you start to look at the accuracy, because errors or things that are not true, هذه is going to affect the reasoning of the paper. Okay. ممكن يكون فيه هنا okay this is not reliable. إذا لقيتوا حاجة not reliable in this article فعشان كذا ممكن أنتوا تبحثوا أكثر وتعملوا argument against it. Okay. The other thing and to see whether this paper is relevant or not. Okay. أحيانا هذا relevancy كل الارticle تكون مناسبة جدا لبحثك. ولكن حاجة بس بسيطة is not relevant. طب هذا الشيء أكتبه when you start writing your literature review later on لما نتكلم عنها نقول أوكي نحن تكلمنا عن هذا كله however all this and the process is okay and everything however الشيء المختلف عن بحثي هو هذا. So أنت كده or أنتوا كده طلعتوا something which is something that you can argue against. This is criticality. Okay, let's go back to our slides. I hope this part is understood and clear. Okay, great. Let's move on to the next one. Okay, so we've already talked about the searching for a problem. Now, in order to look at the problem after that, بعد ما خلاص اتطرقنا على research problem ولقينا gap في literature, نبى نعرف how can هذا السؤال أو هذا statement of problem إيش ممكن يفيدني في أي نوع من أنواع البحوث؟ إيش purpose؟ إيش هدف البحث اللي أنا بدي أسويه؟ Okay, so research purposes comes from the research problem itself. البروبلم اللي أنا لقيته should look something like this. يا إنه it describes or determines differences between groups. مثلا أنا بدي أحلل بين الاثنين or whatever. To examine relationship between two things. To determine the effect of something. يعني أبغى أشوف relation. هل هذا له علاقة بده؟ هل هذا أثر على هذا أو لا؟ هذه كلها okay. How can I sum this up? The purpose of your research لازم يكون clear, concise statement, okay? وحنعرف هذا إيش هو بالضبط of the research study's goal or focus. طيب خلينا نعمل summary. What are the purposes of the research? ممكن إحنا نبغى نعمل basic research. إيش معناته؟ حاجة very descriptive. آخذ theory وهذا theory I start to explain it. theory وأحطها مثلا وأتكلم عنها وأدور على معلومات حوالينها. It takes the form of a theory, okay, نظرية، وهذه النظرية أبغى أشوف وأبغى I want to investigate more, okay. طيب إيش اللي استفدته هنا؟ أنا هنا عملت contribution to knowledge، مع إنه هنا مو كثير يحبذوا هذه النقطة اللي هي فقط يكون descriptive. Mostly ال research it has to be a little bit more evaluative. كيف؟ For example ممكن أستخدمها في applied research. إيش يعني applied research؟ أنا applied research مو معناته بس أنا عشان linguistics I always think of applied linguistics. لا، ممكن يكون applied science. زي لما يكون مثلا في الchemistry الفيزيكس ناخذ شيء ونستخدمه في شيء ثاني. يعني مثلا أنا أخذ هذه الفكرة وأقوم أنا I apply it in real life. عشان هنا يقول لك this type of research pursues potential solutions. أنا هنا بقى أشوف حلول for humans how to make things better. مثلا في التعليم I want to see solutions of how to make technology better, teaching better, and so on to help the societal problems. Okay, هذا prescriptive. Okay. Another type is action research. This type of research هذا يهدف إلى إنه يحل specific problems. يعني أنتوا أصلاً عارفين المشكلة، فأنتوا تستخدموا هذا type of research عشان تعطوا حلول. Okay? For a policy or product. آخر واحد is evaluative، وهذا الفوكس اللي أكثر الناس يقولوا أوكي. أحيانا يعني if you are weighing، إذا أنتوا حاطين مثلا ميزان، usually lots of people go into the evaluative research. It's either formative or summative. إيش يعني formative؟ الformative طبعا مجرد إنه تحط اقتراحات وكذا إنه عشان just to improve. أوكي. الsummative فيها نتيجة. هذا الفرق بين الفورماتيف والسمتيف. حتى في الاختبارات في فورماتيف وسمتيف. الفورماتيف مجرد إنه أشوف like take this thing وأشوف كيف حيسوي الطلاب. أوكي، يعني ما هي محسوبة الدرجة. however summative هذه محسوبة، يعني معناته أنتوا تعطوا judge to judge the effectiveness. يعني مثلا أعطيكم مثال، أنا بحثي كان I want to see this software and I want to see if it's effective or not. كنت اتكلمت أنا هذا في اللقاء السابق، فعملت اختبار قبل وعملت اختبار بعد كده هل شفت النتيجة، هل فعلا الطلاب نجحوا by using the software or not. If so, that means I am judging it. معناته أنا أقول yes, this software is good or not. Okay? Okay. So this is the research purpose. The research purpose entails these areas. لما يكون عندنا ال research purpose معناته أنا أقدر أطلع منه research question، أقدر أطلع منه hypothesis، أقدر أطلع منه research aim and objective. طيب هذا السؤال اللي أكيد كثير ناس بيسألوه، طب إيش الفرق بين ال research question وال research hypothesis؟ وتكلمنا نحن الأسبوع أو المرة اللي فاتت إنه الهايبوثيسيس إيش؟ أنا كنت جالسة مثلا وفي زحمة وقدامي إيش؟ سيارات، وأقوم أنا إيش أحط؟ predictions، أحط اقتراحات، والله ممكن يكون في حادث، ممكن يكون في كذا. I'm just going to tell you that the research question and research hypothesis الريليشن بينهم الاثنين كلهم يستخدموا population، وفيها independent variables وفيها dependent variables. طبعا هذه الشرح فيها يطول. independent variables هي زي cause and effect. كل هالاثنين هي تعتبر objects, events, ideas، ممكن يكون feeling، ممكن يكون time period. Any type of category you are measuring. لاحظي أنا إيش قلت؟ لاحظوا measuring شيء أنا أبغى أقيسه، عشان كذا يسموها variables. أوكي؟ طيب هذه ال two types of variables اللي هو independent الindependent من اسمه، تعرفوا الواحد لما يكون طفل وقاعد وما شاء الله عليه independent، يعني ما شاء الله خلاص مسؤول من نفسه، ما يحتاج إنه أحد يساعده. أوكي؟ الديبندنت ما يمشي أو ما أخذ منه نتيجة إلا بسبب شيء ثاني. أوكي؟ هذا الفرق بين الاندبندنت والindependent. أنا أعطيكم مثال. Okay, I'm going to give you a example. A hypothesis is a formal statement that predicts the relationship between two or more variables. Again, هو statement. لاحظوا هو ما هو question. يعني معناته أنا جالسة هنا وقاعدة أقول تصدقوا هذا الحادث اللي صار قدامي بسبب في حادث سيارة. بس هل أنا عارفة هو صح ولا لا؟ لا، أنا عارفة وكل الناس عارفين إن ممكن يكون هذا الشيء، بس أنا ماني متأكدة هو صح ولا لا. طيب هل هو بسبب عشان الوقت it's this time؟ طيب في عندي هنا 3 أمثلة and I want you to look at it and I want you to tell me what are the variables. Time spent studying. Okay, الطلاب. If the time spent studying is positively correlated with students' grades. Okay, هذه statement. Time spent studying is positively correlated with students' grade. هذه حاجة كثير ناس عارفينها. Okay. Alright. إنه عارفين إنه الوقت اللي يجلسوا فيه الطلاب يدرسوا، كل ما درسوا كل ما زادت درجاتهم. معناته إيش؟ إيش اللي زاد بسبب حاجة؟ أوكي، زيادة الدرجات زادت بسبب التايم أبداً ما يحتاج أحد، نحن ما نقدر نغير التايم ماشي ماشي ماشي، سواء أنا شئت أم أبيت هو ماشي. أوكي، بس إيش اللي ممكن يتغير؟ الجريدز. فهمتوا معنات إيش الاندبندنت والديبندنت؟ أوكي. في هنا misspell. Anyway, the more time the student spends studying for a test, the higher a grade the student will receive. Again, the more time the more grade it will receive. Again, the third one, the fewer. ولاحظوا إنه هذه كل الهايبوثيسيز إيش؟ إحنا عارفين هذا الشيء. طب أنا عارفة إنه إذا الطالب درس معناته هو درجاته هذا. Okay, إذن this is a prediction. معناته ممكن أنا أخذ هذا الprediction وأقيس عليه أشياء ثانية. Okay, because people study more, that means the results in the universities will increase. شايفين الريليشن؟ أنا كده بأخذ أفكار. هذه مجرد hypothesis. Okay. طيب, what about the research question? A research question, again, it's a concise, focused, ولاحظوا الكلمة هذه جدا مهمة, debatable. وهذه جدا مهمة حتى في الريسيرش. حتى لو دخلتوا في أي مكان حيقولوا لكم أوكي إيش الشيء اللي أنتوا you're arguing. لاحظوا أنا قلت arguing. Argument فيها شد وجزر, يعني معناته there are people who are saying yes, there's people are saying no. So a concise, focused, and debatable question that provides a clear path for research. All right. إيش ممكن يكون ال research question? What is the effect of tutoring on students' GPA? لو أنا جبت أحد وخليت ودرس الأطفال وكذا, إيش النتيجة حتكون للطلاب؟ شايفين ال relation between or difference between a hypothesis and a research question? So a research question is something that has not been done before. الhypothesis خلاص ممكن في أشياء ممكن إحنا عارفينها. We're basing it on a hypothesis, okay? What is the relationship between the number of tutoring sessions students receive and the students' GPA? أنا ما أعرف. أنا لسه حأدخل في البحث وحأشوف what is going to happen. Does tutoring have a significant effect on students' course grade? I don't know. I have to know. So I'm going to أجمع data وأشوف the number of people who are tutoring, let's say students في الجامعات السعودية من سن كذا لكذا. لاحظوا refining. Does tutoring have a significant effect on student course grades? طيب أنا هنا أخذت السؤال هذا and I want to do some more research on it. لسه أنا ما أعرف. I can gather information from tutoring. I can gather information about the effects of student courses on grades and how can it affect. أحطه أجمعه على بعض وألاقي a research. Which one should I use? وهذا هو the final thing in our session today. What should a person use in their research? Again, as I said in the last session, there is no right or wrong in research. When you do a research, you can use a hypothesis when a body of research has been established. يعني ممكن تلاقوا something that has already been done وتحطوا عليها hypothesis. أنا حأخذ هذه الرسالة أو هذا الستدي وحأبني عليه دراستي لأنه هذه الدراسة قد خلاص صارت. فخلينا نشوف هل هذا الشيء حيصير according to this article or not. إذن you have a high degree of certainty. أنتوا عارفين ممكن يطلع كذا about the relationship between variables. However, مو كل شيء ممكن يصير حسب الارتكل اللي فات. ممكن الشيء اللي انتوا اللي اخترتوه الفاريبلز تختلف فاختلفت النتيجة كلها. ممكن برضو ممكن استخدم a research question. وهذا ال research question يستخدم for exploratory research. That means you are exploring and seeing and covering areas that have not been covered before. Maybe the very little research has been done in this area, so I put research questions. هنا يبدأ التساؤلات. هل هذا اللي حيصير كده؟ هل حيصير النتيجة كده؟ أنا ما أعرف لسه لأنه I'm still doing research وما في شيء صار في ذا الموضوع. Or when the relationship between variables is ambiguous. أحيانا يكون هذا أنا اخترت variable ما قد صارت في another research وأخذت another variable قد صارت وأبغى أشوف هل حيطلع النتيجة اللي أنا أبغاها أو لا. أنا ما أعرف لسه. Okay. والحمد لله, this is today's last slide. So I hope you came up with some information that can help you throughout your process. وإن شاء الله بإذن الله حنكمل um, the process of conducting research بإذن الله في الأسابيع المقبلة. إذا عندكم أي سؤال you can write in the chat. And if you also want further support one-to-one, as I said before, في Gulf Wings, we do a one-to-one academic coaching, academic one-to-one support that somebody can give you some advice on your research. Yes, I can send the presentation. Actually, and presentations are going to be uploaded on YouTube. So this is a recorded session and so on. Yes, اتفضلوا. Yes, you can. ممكن تشاركوا على التقديم. اتفضلوا. الله يعطيكم العافية.
الله يعطيك العافية وجزاك الله ألف خير.
وجزيتي. Okay, we have a question here. Do not use both in every research project, but in quality research instead of hypothesis, we use proposition. In a way, it's kind of like the same word. كأنه the different, تعرف الcoin, two sides of the different coin. Okay, sometimes a proposition is something that you base your research on. Okay, this is what it's called. So yes, الحمد لله. الله يعطيكم العافية. أتمنى أنكم يكونوا استفدتوا من للمعلومية. I'm using English for a specific purpose. All of you are coming into studying in the UK or United States or wherever in the world that you're studying. You need to know the terms in English. And this is why I specifically I'm using English, not because of any specific reason. الterms, methodology, everything, terminology itself is very important in research. If you know the meanings, you can at least understand your supervisor when they say, because I had difficulty when I came. And there are some certain words that I didn't know until I started to do more research again and again and again. ففي كلمات أحيانا نسمعها ما احنا عارفين بالضبط إيش هي معناها. But that's the reason why I'm talking in English. You're welcome.